Alex, tell me about your goal, your long-term goal.
Well, in the long term, I guess I just want to feel more confident and comfortable in my own skin. I want to trust my instincts and not let self doubt hold me back from pursuing opportunities or building stronger connections. Ultimately, I'd like to feel more at peace and more authentic in everything I do.
If I understand you correctly and if I hear you, your goal is to be proud of who you really, really are.
Well, that's not exactly what I said. I'm more focused on trusting myself and not letting self doubt hold me back rather than just being proud. But I do appreciate you trying to capture the essence of it.
Yeah, but surely trust is a part of, confidence, and pride is linked to trusting yourself.
I can see how those pieces connect, definitely. I guess my main point is that it's more about overcoming that self doubt and building that internal reassurance rather than just pride. But I appreciate you connecting the dots.
Yeah, well, self-doubt is something that you should probably talk to your therapist about. Um, Coaches really focus on positive things. So I'd like to focus on you trusting yourself and maybe being more proud as a long term goal. I think that would be what's best for you.
I understand where you're coming from, and I do value the positive angle, but I do feel that addressing the self doubt is part of the process as well. Maybe we can strike a balance between acknowledging the doubt and building that trust and confidence together. I'm definitely open to exploring that.
I hear you and I hear that you're willing and that you're certainly available for coaching. That's great. It's wonderful. I think you sound like an amazing person. I'm probably going to, yeah, what I think we should do next is probably look at the landscape of your life as a whole. Let's do that next. Even I was squirming at trying my best to show you what not to do. So, what not to do when we are having goal conversations. First, not to do is not to use the word goal. I know it sounds crazy, right? Cole, how do we coach goals without saying the word goal? Now, this is not a hard and fast rule. I'm not telling you definitely don't. There's no coaching police, there's no real ultimate rules here. It's just in my experience as an MCC and having guided many, many people to become professional coaches or to add professional coaching skills, the word goal sticks for people. It's not always comfortable. If we like the word, doesn't mean other people will like the word. So I would suggest not what is your goal, experiment with different language, and I'll show you how in a moment. Second big mistake, did you spot what else I was doing wrong? Yeah. I was failing to partner with the client. I was deciding everything. I was pushing. I wasn't working with my clients to figure out what they really wanted. Third big mistake, hope you spotted it, was that I was substituting my own words instead of using the words that the client was putting on the table. She asked for more confidence. She mentioned self doubt, and I was assuming and inserting words like proud. And she was very gracious about it. Good old ChatGPT being very polite. But actually, a real client might have even gotten more upset, or a client might have been submissive. When we backtrack, when we actively listen, we want to listen for our client's words and use their words. And the last big mistake amongst many was a very common one that I've seen in the world of coaching, especially in the world of ICF, International Coaching Federation coaching. The ICF, International Coaching Federation, has helped establish global standards, right? These are benchmarks for the whole industry, which is fantastic. And of course, we are talking about what I call pure coaching, which is non-advice giving coaching. That's not when we are blending coaching with mentoring, etc. Now, one of the big lines in the sand that the ICF makes, and it's part of their coaching code of ethics, etc., is to distinguish the role of the coach from other modalities. Specifically, the one that I was trying to highlight in this example was the difference between therapy, therapist, counselor, and the role of a coach. You could also distinguish trainer, manager, etc. Now, it's so important to have these lines drawn because a coach is not trained to get into the role of mental health therapist, psychologist, etc. Those are professions unto their own right with their own certifications, their own regulatory bodies, etc. And also, it's pretty important to distinguish coaching from mentoring, training, etc., because it's different. They work together often. There is a space, I believe, for blended coaching, but we need to be clear about the distinction, etc. But I'm going to balance this now. What I've seen happen is beautiful, well-intentioned, well-credentialed and certified coaches who go down the road of getting an ACC, PCC, or MCC credential, then immerse themselves in the ICF language. What happens is that they almost counterbalance so far away from therapy, so nervous to touch into anything that sounds, feels, or looks like therapy, that they step out into a robotic, cold coaching style and are too afraid to actually even have conversations with their client about emotions, about vulnerable inner obstacles. So the good news, of course, and you heard this in my exaggerated how not to coach example, is that we don't have to shut the door on a conversation with, and I'm going to use InnerLifeSkills language here and broadly say inner obstacles. So all inner obstacles, from doubt to procrastination, obviously not in the territory of deep trauma work, etc., but just common day-to-day mindset, emotions, you absolutely can work in that territory. The difference is that as a coach, we are partnering with the client. We're not telling them what to do. We're not making judgments, etc. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that we need to keep in place. But we certainly can go there, and even the ICF make room in their PCC markers and their descriptions for things like being comfortable and showing respect for and making space for the vulnerability of the client. We also want to be an emotionally safe space, and that includes that we are showing up like a human being that cares, showing warmth, showing empathy, and all of those good things. So we can work with somebody's shadow. We can challenge and stretch our clients. We can go into inner obstacle conversations as long as we're doing so in a partnership and in a solution-focused way. So we are looking for what are those ultimate insights and solutions. Now I'm going to repeat the conversation, and hopefully with our volunteer ChatGPT trained simulated client, create a better version of how to coach goals. Alex, it's wonderful to be with you today. I'd love you to tell me what's brought you to coaching today.
Thanks, Colleen. I'm really glad to be here. Honestly, I'm here because self-doubt has been creeping into a lot of areas of my life, and I really want to learn how to navigate that better. I'm hoping to build more confidence and find some practical strategies to overcome that doubt.
I'd love to unpack this a bit more if you feel comfortable with that, Alex. What would confidence look like to you in the future if you were exactly experiencing the kind of confidence that you're looking for?
It's a great question. I think confidence for me would look like speaking up more freely at work, taking on new challenges without that inner hesitation, and feeling more present and at ease in my relationships. Ultimately, it'd mean trusting myself to make decisions and feeling like I'm enough, no matter the situation.
I mean, you mentioned quite a few things there, but what's standing out for me is trusting yourself and I am enough. I mean, when I say those words, your words, back to you, how do they land for you, Alex?
Hearing you say that definitely resonates deeply. It feels validating and reassuring. And it also reminds me of the kind of mindset I want to cultivate. Definitely gives me a sense of clarity and encouragement. So it's really powerful to hear.
It's what you're ultimately wanting to cultivate. Trusting yourself and knowing that you are enough. So when you say the word confidence, and when you say that you want to be getting over self doubt, would you say that trusting yourself and knowing that you are enough are the two key components?
Absolutely. I'd say those two are definitely at the core of it. When I trust myself and truly believe that I'm enough, it makes overcoming that self doubt so much more natural. It's like the foundation for confidence, and everything else builds from there.
It's your foundation, it's at the core of it.
Exactly. That's spot on. It really does feel like the bedrock for everything else. Once that trust and self worth are in place, the self doubt naturally diminishes. It's definitely a powerful starting point.
If you feel up for it, I'm inviting you to imagine that future scenario. If you want to close your eyes and visualize, you're welcome. If you want to just picture and imagine, I'd like to invite you to imagine that future where you are feeling confident because you are trusting yourself and knowing that you are enough. Using your imagination and in your own perfect way, Alex. If you feel like closing your eyes and visualizing, you can. If you want to keep your eyes open and just be looking out in the distance, imagine being there. Imagine waking up, trusting yourself, knowing you are enough. How do you suppose that will feel?
I can imagine it feeling really freeing and empowering. There'd be this sense of calm and confidence that just flows naturally. And I'd probably feel more present and at ease in everything I do. It would be like a weight lifting off my shoulders, and I feel more open to opportunities and connections. It sounds pretty wonderful.
Pretty wonderful, I'm sure. And I know it's a strange thing to ask, but in that calmness, in that freedom and being present, how would you be walking differently?
I imagine I'd walk with a bit more ease and confidence, maybe a lighter step, a straighter posture, and just a more relaxed demeanor overall. It would probably show in my body language too, maybe more openness, a bit more intentionality in my movements, and just a general sense of calm confidence.
So, lighter step, a straighter posture, and generally this open. And you've said the word calm and ease, I think, a few times.
Absolutely. It really does come back to that sense of calm and ease. It's like everything just flows more naturally when that trust and self worth are at the forefront. It's definitely a powerful vision to hold on to.
And as you hold on to that vision, why else is this important to you?
I think it's important because it touches every aspect of my life, my well being, my relationships, and my growth. When I'm confident and trusting myself, I'm more open to new experiences and more resilient in the face of challenges. Ultimately, it helps me lead a more fulfilling and authentic life. And that's really why it matters so much.
So it touches every aspect and it allows you to lead a more fulfilling life ultimately. Alex, if 10 out of 10 was a representation of extremely important and 0 out of 10 was not important at all, how important is it for you to find this confidence and to live with trusting yourself, knowing that you are enough?
I'd say it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. It's absolutely crucial and central to how I want to live and grow.
It's crucial and it's central. And if you were to make this a part of your reality, you said it touches every aspect of your life. How could you potentially be a role model for others if you lived this?
I think by embodying that confidence and self-trust, I could inspire others to believe in themselves as well. It would show them that it's possible to overcome doubt and live authentically. And hopefully it would encourage them to embrace their own worth and potential.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it would do that. You embodying it would inspire others for sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It definitely motivates me even more to keep working on it and to keep growing along the way.
So today, if we worked together in our coaching session and you left with something that helped you take even a small step towards living this life of confidence, trusting yourself, knowing that you are enough, overcoming that kind of self-doubt, what would be one tangible something that you would like to leave with today?
I think one tangible step could be setting a small, achievable goal for the week, like speaking up in a meeting or sharing a personal idea, and then reflecting on how it feels. That kind of practical action would help build that confidence step by step.
So today, if you left with that kind of practical action, that small achievable goal for the week, is that what you would like from our time together?
Yes, absolutely. That would be really valuable and meaningful for me. Just having that clear, actionable step would definitely help keep the momentum going.
Yeah, it will keep the momentum going. So, did you hear a couple of things that were improved on? For sure, I'm always working to grow as a coach, and there's always room for improvement. But there were a couple of things I really wanted you to hear and to see. First of all, you would have heard that in this example, I didn't use the word goal, that we started quite lightly talking about what the client wanted, why they arrived at coaching in the first place. They started to put certain words on the table. The word confidence was a big one, so I wrote it down. I've made a note here that that's part of the goal, right? It's the theme. They did mention self-doubt. I've written that down because later in the session, I would want to revisit that. It's just not appropriate to jump straight into solve everything that shows up when it shows up. And in fact, that's a mistake a lot of new coaches make. Is I always say it's like holding back wild racehorses. When a coach realizes that coaching is about solution-focused conversations and asking powerful coaching questions, the moment a solution arrives in the space, a coach wants to jump in and start solving it. Or when an obstacle shows up in the space, a coach wants to, how do we solve that? How do we fix that? And there's a reason that I train myself and my team. We train coaches to do what we call a step one first. And step one we call contracting. And contracting is about finding out what the goal is and excavating an objective for the session, putting in a few other elements like what we call deepened value and evidence, which is finding out the reason why something is important to a client, unpacking that goal, exploring it a little bit, and creating measures, etc., unpacking how they will know they've got what they want from the session. These are all key important elements in contracting, but we don't get into delivering the contract. We don't get into delivering the solutions straight away. And in fact, the strength of a session is often, I feel, the ability to contract well, to hold back that wild racehorse from leaping into fix it, solve it straight away. So I would park self-doubt as an inner obstacle to unpack later. Notice that in my terrible handwriting, I'm not writing everything down. I am grabbing keywords and I'm backtracking those actual words to the client. I'm not substituting. I am not making assumptions. I'm keeping it very tight. Now, the client was very verbal and expressed many, many concepts often. So it was not always easy to grab those one or two key things. And you can always check with the client if they mention many things, which is the most important for them, what they would like to highlight. Or you listen to their voice and you hear the standouts or the repeating themes. The other thing that I decided to throw in is a bit of what's called an as-if neurolinguistic NLP frame. It's very common in the world of coaching to allow our clients to imagine as if they are already there, okay? They're at the top of that mountain, and then to unpack that. It's highly motivating, gets the client very involved with their coaching. It also helps if the client hasn't come up with an objective for the session yet to hang out in that type of goal excavation or exploration is really, really supportive. If you are on the ICF credential path, wanting to achieve ACC, PCC, or MCC, if you skip over the goal conversation too quickly, it would potentially count as weak evidence. You need some really strong evidence in a performance evaluation of unpacking and excavating the goal. And that's also a reason why it can be helpful to do additional things like check the importance of the goal out of 10. If somebody gives you a low score for a goal, they tell you it's a 5 or a 6, what do you think the next thing should be that we ask? Not why is it low? What would make it more important? And if there isn't something that would make it more important, the question actually becomes, is this something worth coaching? Excavating what we call a deepened value, which is the real deeper value of the goal. It's the broad why. Why is this important to the client? And then really taking our time to capture some of those words. When they say things like, my client said, it touches every aspect of their life. There was the word fulfilling. I threw in the role model question. It's a very nice one. There are dozens of different types of questions we could ask in this context, but we want to not only position the goal and clarify what that is without necessarily remember using the word goal. It's just that future that they want. It's the difference they want. It's the change they want to see. It's the self that they want to step into. It's all of those things. It's the progress they want to make. So that summit on the proverbial mountain, that journey where they are now and where they want to ultimately be, we don't want to just coldly write it down, check it off, and continue. We do want to unpack it. We want to excavate it. We want to get a sense of the impact it's going to have in their life. Not only is that helpful for us to get to know them, to find out what motivates them, but also for the client, it becomes highly aspirational. It's going to increase the rocket fuel of their engagement in the coaching, they're wanting to make progress, and give them the energy and the focus they're going to need to ultimately accomplish it. During the as-if frame, during the excavation of that imagined future scenario, you also would have heard me lean into asking about the somatic. Soma means of the body. So somatic means when we check in with the physically felt response of the person, not just logic, reasoning, not practical how to straight away. We're saving that for later, because this is all going to really get the client into the right state of mind to start finding those solutions and insights at a later point. And finally, what you also heard was me narrowing down the long-term goal into an outcome, an outcome for the session, which the ICF, International Coaching Federation, calls a session objective. At InnerLifeSkills, we call it a contract. And it's really just a defined something. It's something the client wants to do. It's something the client wants to achieve. It's something the client wants to have. And it's specific to the time frame of the session. So it's what can be accomplished in the 30 minutes, in the 1 hour. Whereas that long-term goal is that future thing that the person's going to have to take many steps to achieve. The contract is like a small step that can actually happen in the session. And the reason we want to do this is because it makes the session highly focused and it produces an outcome. Otherwise, coaching could be this luxurious, beautiful kind of conversation that doesn't achieve something. It's like going to a restaurant but not actually ordering any food and not getting any food and not eating any food. Coaching that skips contracting and that doesn't actually really focus on it tends to be always action plans, always almost like endless to-do list making, instead of actually accomplishing something in the session, which is not only awesome for your client and makes your client feel, wow, that was amazing, I'd like to come back, or I'd like to send other people to this coach, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But it's also rewarding for you as the coach to feel like you've achieved something, that you've partnered with your client to have a tangible outcome and to make meaningful progress in the session. You're not just planning to plan. And it counts as ICF, PCC, and MCC evidence to check the contract with a client and make sure you've understood it and you get it word for word. What I would be doing next with the client is I would be focusing on helping them achieve that small, couldn't read my writing for a moment, achievable goal for the week, a practical action. That would be the practical part of our conversation. But I'm not going to forget about the self-doubt, and we are going to go there, because we don't want the session to only stay on the surface. Obviously, we're not going to force depth if it's not there, but we certainly are not going to miss an opportunity to coach the whole client and to invite deeper awareness, insight into them as a whole person. And that way, even practical goals can offer opportunities for really deep, meaningful inner work. Hence, yes, opportunity to mention my brand, InnerLifeSkills Coaching, where we do specialize in helping natural coaches to coach so brilliantly that clients are so impressed that they send them referrals and give them top reviews. Yes, that was a shameless punt. If you liked this coaching simulation with some of the ICF tips and you've walked away with some real aha moments, you know what to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and let's tell the algorithms that you want more of this, and to tell us, yes, Cole, please make more of these kinds of valuable videos. If you've liked this life coaching demonstration with ICF expert tips, you're probably going to also like this one. Check the video here.